Okay, so I just want to talk a little bit about the way I'm packing up this window here. It's not as simple as the first program I showed you, which just had basically a button and a filler label. This has a lot of controls, and they're in a very specific layout. As you can see, everything is kind of nice and lined up, and really the best way to do that is to use frames. So for example, these 6 controls, you see these? They're almost like in a table with like 2 columns and 3 rows. Do you see that? These 6 controls are in columns and rows. So I put them in their own frame, and then I used a grid configuration to just get them nicely lined up like in this table type format. So that's one frame that I used. And then these 2 at the bottom, so we have the result label here and the button. So these are in a different configuration. It's just one over the other. So you can think of these as like in one column, just one big wide column, and 2 rows. This is row 1, this guy, and then the button is on row 2. So that's another frame. And again, I'm using grid. So it's 2 separate frames. I'm using the grid layout in both. But so that's really what's going on here. I don't know if I'm going to get to the frames themselves in this video, but there's one thing I want to talk about first is the use of styles. You know, I wanted a green background on my window, which I was able to configure the root window, but everything that you put in the window, the frames themselves, for example, the labels, the button, those also have to have their backgrounds configured if you want it to look consistent. And even then, I could not get the button to change to save my life, even though I applied the technique. So I left it in there, I'll show you, but it's just not working. And that's really just the nature of the beast here with this TK-Inter. It's very unpredictable and inconsistent, I would even say. So, but let me just show you the styles that I use. So this would be optional. It's just for a little bit of eye candy here, but I created a frame style. So I had to do a style for each of the types of components, for the frame, the labels, and then the button, which ultimately didn't work, but I left it in. So I'm creating a frame style. Again, I choose that name, frame style, and then this. Just creating a style, and then I'm going to configure that style. Now this is non-negotiable. I had to look this up online. So for the frame, you use T-frame as the name of that style, and then the background, this is where we're getting down to it, I've changed to light green. Same thing for the label. I created a label style. Okay, it's T-label, non-negotiable. I had to look that up. And again, it's light green. So I did the same thing for the button. This didn't work. I think maybe because the button is more sophisticated. And I think, well, by sophisticated, I mean this is a Windows button when it comes down to it. And like when I hover over it, it lights up. Okay, so it's got these sophisticated behaviors kind of already like baked into it, and I think that's why it doesn't respond the same way as the other simpler controls do. That's my guess, at least. So whatever, we've got to just have to let it go and accept the gray button. So you know, I think I'm gonna end this video here because I'm about to get into the frames and like packing up the frames. So let me stop this here, and I'll continue in the next video.